morning again, everyone. It's good to see you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. This, of course, is not the way we wanted to meet, believe me. But we are grateful to have this means of conducting necessary business. Just so you know, you will see us here. This is the first time I've been in the office since I was elected president a year ago, and got to meet Morgan, our new employee, for the first time. And we have all been vaccinated. And according to the CDC guidelines, we are allowed to be in the same room without masks. We did, of course, Rodney, being as efficient as he is, had our temperature taken, signed in. Some of us were frisked, not others, but we all were able to come in and enter, and we feel very comfortable. Wish you were here too. I would like at this time to, I will have our first Vice President, Lizette Watterson, lead us in prayer. And before we do that, I did want to say that we heard from Mr. George yesterday. He has a proxy sitting in for today, Maddie White. And he mentioned that he asked that we please pray for Mrs. George. She is having some health concerns right now. That's why he is not with us today. So please, let's keep her and all of our members who may be going through some tough times right now in our prayers. Lizette?
Good morning. Please bow your heads as we go to the throne of grace. Father God, this morning we come with bowed heads and humble hearts, just thanking you, dear Lord, for the opportunity that we have just to be alive. Lord, we thank you that we all arrived here with traveling grace, that no hurt, harm, or danger has come to any of us. And we ask that same as we return home. Lord, we ask a special blessing on this meeting today, that whatever we do, we make sure that it's done decent, in order, and for the betterment of this organization. Lord, we ask that you send a special blessing this morning to Mrs. George. Lord, we know that everything is in your control, and whatever you do is worthy of your praise. These and other blessings I ask in my Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Lizette. And now our immediate past president, Nancy Quigley, will lead us in the pledge.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so jealous that I'm not there with you today in Baton Rouge, but I'm so glad that we are able to get together. According to Zoom protocol, we will not stand unless those in the office want to do that. I will now lead you in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. We do miss having you here, but we realize because of the travel involved, and same with Jabella Williamson, who is also here. At this time, I would like to welcome our guests. We have Omar Guerrero, who is the AMBA Vice President of Member Experience. Franklin Hart, AMBA Regional Vice President. Our TRSL Director, Catherine Whitney, who will present a session this afternoon, but today she has graciously accepted an invitation to speak on Dr. Jerry Bodan's behalf, who could not attend. Our TRSL rep, Dr. James Taylor, our AARP rep, Martha Hayes, and we saw Miss Deborah Copeland, our OGB rep, is also here this morning. Thank you all for being here with us. Do a little bit of housekeeping before we move on with the business. I would like to remind you that we have some members observing today, but they cannot be seen or heard, and this meeting is being recorded for later viewing. One more thing, when we get to making motions, I would ask that you please state your name before making the motion. So if I say, I will entertain a motion now please just speak up and say, Hernandez, I so move. Page, I so move, whatever. Say your name, and then we will, it'll make it easier for us with our record keeping. Thank you. All right, we're on to item E already. Approval of the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped all the way down. I skipped the roll call. Excuse me. Renee Saccone will do our roll call.
Ms. Hernandez,
Here.
Ms. Squigley,
Here.
Ms. Watterson,
Present.
Mr. Hamner,
Here.
Mr. George
Here.
is not here, his representative, Maddie White.
Here.
And Ms. Williams,
Here.
Ms. Foster,
Here.
Ms. Williamson,
Here.
Ms. Saunier, Ms. Mouton,
Here.
Mr. Rogers,
Here.
Ms. Gordon,
Here.
Mr. Rivers,
Here.
Mr. Galat, Ms. Shepherd,
Here.
Dr. Shepherd, I know she's here. Dr. Bodan is not with us today. Dr. Taylor,
Here.
Ms. Copeland.
No, she was here.
Yeah, she's here. And Ms. Hayes.
Here.
Madam President, you do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Sorry for skipping the roll call. That was my first mistake ever, so I apologize. I used to say that to my students all the time, and then they started keeping track of every mistake. By the end of the year, I was in the hundreds, so it was fun. All right, item 1E, approval of the agenda. You should have received your packet with the agenda via mail or email prior to the meeting. So I'll give you a second to look over that. And then I will entertain a motion.
Freddie Rivers, so moved.
Foster, second.
Foster.
Yeah, Foster.
I was waiting just a second. I'm sorry for the, we do have the motion. There we are. Mr. Rivers, did you move? All right, so Mr. Rivers has moved to approve the agenda of the 2021 Executive Board meeting, seconded by Ms. Foster. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, item 2, approval of the minutes. Again, the minutes were also included in your packet. I'll give you a second to glance over that in case you made any notes. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Foster make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Ms. Foster has moved. Is there a second?
Williamson, I second.
Ms. Williamson, seconds. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you. That's very helpful. In order to complete our business in a timely manner this morning, we have asked all our presenters to be as brief as possible, and we appreciate your cooperation. Item 3, LRTA committee reports. I would like to thank all the chairpersons of our committees, as well as the members of the committee, for their hard work. I know this isn't easy. We're actually most of the time meeting more often than usual, and everyone has been very cooperative, and we appreciate that. So at this time, we'll start with the budget committee, and I will ask Roxanne Lagarde, our chairperson, to present.
Good morning, everyone. We met on April 14th via Zoom meeting, the Budget Committee. The purpose of our meeting was to receive and approve a report from the operating year ending March 31st, 2021, and to approve the 21-22 LRTA operating budget. Also discussed was where to place the 2020-2021 excess budget funding from the previous operating year. On motion 1 was unanimously passed. The committee favorably received the LRTA 2020-2021 closeout budget report from Mr. Watson. Motion 2 also was unanimously passed, but due to a 2021 budget surplus, the committee approved the transfer of $50,000 from the LRTA operating account at Red River Bank to the LRTA investment account with Merrill Lynch. And our last motion, motion 3, also was unanimously passed. The committee approved the 2021-2022 LRTA operating budget. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Lagarde. Mr. Watson, do you have any comments at this time?
Yeah, just thank you, Roxanne, for a very thorough report. Just a few highlights on the budget. For the first time in many, many years, LRTA had a budget excess, largely due to lack of travel and meeting. But we had over $97,000 left on the table. Part of that, $47,000, we're going to put in carryover to do some delayed maintenance projects on the building. And for the first time in many, many years, we are putting $50,000 into our investment account, which brings our total to over $650,000. That's a real plus for us. The pandemic has taught us there are things we can do from a distance that's a cost savings to the organization. In addition to that, the total budget for this year will be $685,475. I want to reiterate, we're very empathetic to our district that did not get to meet this year. And we wanted to make sure that you knew that we use your membership count for April 1st, the beginning of our fiscal year, to determine your district allocations. So in this budget, every district will have its full allocation in hopes that you'll be able to meet face-to-face, if not, to do some creative hybrid meetings and projects at the local level. So that being said, that concludes my report. If anyone has any questions or comments, we'd be happy to respond.
Madam President, I would like to make a comment. This is Nancy Quigley.
Yes, Ms. Quigley.
I want to thank the staff very much for the actually being able to redeposit money that was unused. I think this is a great step. I understand that we might not be able to always do this, but I think that we will see that with being able to meet virtually, we won't have near as much expense in the future as we have had before this. Again, thank you, staff, very much.
Thank you, Ms. Quigley. Appreciate that. All right. Do I hear any other discussion? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the LRTA 2021-22 operating budget and to transfer $50,000 in 2020-21 carryover funds into the LRTA investment account?
Rogers, I so move.
Rivers.
I'm sorry.
Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, thank you. Mr. Rogers moves. Is there a second?
Rivers, second.
Ms. Watterson, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Our next committee report will be from Ms. Watterson, our first vice president and chairperson of our membership committee.
Good morning. The LRT membership committee was called to order at 10:08 by yours truly on April 15th, 2021, at 10 a.m. The committee members were present and the district presidents were also present in most of those areas. And I thank everyone for coming to that. The chairperson for the committee, yours truly, stated the purpose of the meeting was to give the members an opportunity to meet and greet and one another and to establish a state membership goal for 2021 through 22. The chart of numbers by parish is needed to achieve the 5% membership increase was shown to the committee members. Mr. Watson introduced the LRTA Membership Services Coordinator, who will be working with membership committee members to achieve their goals. Ms. Milling said she is looking forward to working with the committee and invited them to call on her for assistance when necessary. The recruitment ideas for active and associate members were also discussed. In this meeting, I also indicated that the committee would meet bi-monthly, with this next meeting being in June. And this meeting was the motion was made by Ms. Foster, second by Mr. Rivers, and passed unanimously. The committee approved the adjournment of the meeting. And that is our report from the membership committee.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. That was great. Mr. Watson, do you have any other comments to make about the committee?
Just a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for that very thorough report. Was that I'm going to be introducing Morgan a little bit later in the agenda, and she'll tell you a little bit about how she wants to take a leadership role with Lizette as we continue the meetings. Just to point out, the pandemic had an effect on our membership too. We lost over 600 auto-active members, which is an extraordinary number for us. Catherine's on the call with us. TRSL was most cooperative for us to look and see if there could have been some type of data corruption because the number was so high, but in fact did verify that was a genuine number. It could have been partly due to the pandemic. Our auto-active members, the ones who have automatic renewals, tend to be our older members, and we just reached that threshold where it affected us. So regaining that membership is very important to us. If you had been on that membership call last week, there was so much positive energy. And because we can use the internet at little to no cost, we'll be able to brainstorm ideas to help regain it. We've already gained over 200 auto-active members or new members since that drop. So we're looking forward to using technology as a tool to increase our membership. And Madam Chair, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments, questions? All right. At this time, you'll see motion number 4 on your screen. I will accept the motion to receive the membership committee report.
Fred Rivers, so move.
Moved by Mr. Rivers. Is there a second?
Foster, second.
Yep. Ms. Foster seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. All right. Now we're down to item 3C, the Legislative Committee. Clyde Hamner, our second vice president and also our legislative chair, will give the report.
Well, good morning, everybody. In your packet, you have a rather lengthy legislative committee report. I'm not going to read it word for word with your permission. I'm going to give a brief synopsis of it. The legislative committee meetings were held in November, December, January, and April. The purpose of these meetings were to review the legislative priorities of LRTA and update them. Oh, I'm looking over here. Okay. To review the legislative priorities of LRTA and update these priorities. Those can be found on your LRTA website. We also discussed strategies for the upcoming legislative session and reviewed all the pre-filed legislation that was that we knew of at these meetings. Then in April, on April 9th, the committee met again and formally presented, formally took stands on all the pre-filed legislation. And then on a motion made by Ms. David, seconded by Ms. Johnson, and unanimously passed, the committee approved the recommended legislative positions on pre-filed legislation as presented by the executive director. And what I'm going to do at this time is ask our executive director, Rodney Watson, to just review those bills for us and the LRTA positions on these bills.
Thank you, Clyde. I'd like to say Clyde's committee is going to be like membership committee. It's already met several times through Zoom, so the committee has stayed very engaged and supportive of our legislative priorities. Just a couple of things. Senator Price's hardship COLA bill did pass out of committee successfully. We have about $97 million in the COLA account. We need an excess of $350 million to give all of our membership a COLA. Catherine is on this call and is doing a video this afternoon that goes through the history of COLAs and possible solutions on how we could get a COLA sooner rather than later. But for the time being, basically what this bill does is it provides a cost of living increase for those that are living below the poverty line. And that'll cost about 12 to 15 million of the account. Pursuant to that, the next bill that we kept an eye on is Senate Bill 22 by Beryl Peacock. That bill was heard in committee yesterday. Basically, it does not affect current retirees. We took an opposition stance on that bill because TRSL did. Our retiree representatives, Dr. Taylor and Baudouin, were in support of that, not because it affects current retirees, because it affects future retirees. And that bill, right now, you know, the minimum age was raised several years ago to 62. This bill would states that if it passes, if you have 40 years at 62 or 67, so it's raising that minimum age. Imagine when you get out of college that you are going to be told you have to work 40 years or more to get your full benefit. Everything else is reduced. Catherine Whitney did present at that committee meeting yesterday. Excellent job pointing out the flaws. We all know that that will affect hiring and recruitment for many years to come. We opposed it through the Louisiana Public School Coalition because as an organization, we can't prove harm. In fact, there may be a case to where it would actually help fiscally, because teachers work longer, they contribute longer, and then when they retire, they're older, so they don't collect the benefit as long. There may be some negative ramifications because of teacher shortages that could affect the system, but no studies have been done. So we took a passive position on that, but we're recommending opposing. It will go to the Senate floor next. LRTA is not going to do an email blast opposing it for the reasons I just stated, but I would like to say this, and Clyde and other board members may want to chime in. As an organization, we're not going to take an active stance against it, but you know, as an individual, you can contact your senator and give a testimony and say, I taught 30 years. If I knew I was going to have to teach 40 years when I got out of college, speak to the anecdotal parts where you know it will be hard to recruit teachers in the future. So we encourage you to do that. But those are the two bills. There are other in your packet that we're keeping track of, but those are the two most active. And at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Clyde.
Yeah, and I would agree with Rodney that any individual retiree, even though it's not going to affect us, that we do contact our area legislators, let them know that this is going to harm our profession in the future, that it's going to make it hard for school systems to recruit new teachers, which indirectly will affect our retirement system, in my opinion, in the future, and our LRTA membership, because to be honest, where are we going to find teachers to work for 40 years and to have retirees to perpetuate the system and to keep LRTA viable? That's just my opinion. Yeah, but yeah, I would. Yeah, we're all smart people. We know how to convince our area legislators to do what we need for them to do.
Clyde, I'd also like to say, not just your legislators, if you know an active teacher, a principal, a school board member, your local superintendent Those are the groups that can actively fight this bill because they can speak to the negative and detrimental effect that bill will have on recruitment and retention.
What's next? Do I need to ask for a motion to accept this?
Yes.
All right, at this time, I'm going to accept a motion, or I can make the motion.
Yes.
The motion to approve the 2021 LRTA legislative priorities and legislative positions on the 2021 pre-filed legislation.
Okay, Mr. Hamner has moved. Is there a second?
Williams, second.
I'm
Williams.
sorry.
Jerry Williams.
Williams.
Thank you,
I thought Williams, no, it's Geraldine Williams.
Geraldine.
I thought Williams' son got cut off. I couldn't tell, so good. Geraldine Williams, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for that thorough.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Quigley?
yes, could Rodney or Clyde just give us a brief statement on what Barrow said? How did he try to promote this bill? Was it just strictly monetary?
Well, I'll be honest with you. He didn't run any studies to validate his rationale, but basically he's saying people are living longer. And so we need to increase the age. There was there were comments made that may not be the case. I suspect he's raising it to 67 because that's how long you have to work to collect Social Security. So he's liking it to that.
Okay.
But the point that he's missing is you can change jobs under Social Security several times during your work experience. Teachers can. But that was basically his rationale.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Rodney, I have a question. Does he seem to be getting support on that bill?
Would you repeat that?
Does Peacock seem to be getting support on that bill?
Well, he had just enough votes to get it in. I think he knew when he went into that meeting, he had the votes because if you had seen Catherine presented, our actuary Shelley Johnson presented, Cindy Russo from Laser presented, their testimony was outstanding, on point, back with research. He seemed to be very confident. I would say he had support from the committee. The rest is up to us and the active organizations to get to the Senate, who's very conservative and probably would support something like this. So this is a call to action. And I believe the Senate may even meet on that bill this week because it doesn't require fiscalness. So we need to take action.
All right, you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I might add just to, but very briefly, I watched the Senate Retirement Committee yesterday virtually as Senator Peacock presented this bill, and his arguments in favor of the bill just really did not resonate with me as much as the reasons to oppose the bill that were presented by the directors of the two flagship retirement systems and the actuaries. And they refuted those Senator Peacock's rationale thoroughly, but the committee still voted 4-3 to send it to the next step. And like Rodney said, it's going to be up to active teachers, in my opinion, superintendents, the LSBA, Louisiana School Boards Association, and us as an organization in conjunction with the whole Louisiana Public School Coalition to get on our local senators and the and representatives to defeat the bill when it goes to defeat the bill.
Madam Chairman, if I could make a comment.
Yes, Dr. Taylor?
Since I'm the guy who led the opposition at TRSL, I will say to you, I had given, I won't go over all of them, 6 very solid reasons why this is a subterfuge to try to change the very nature of what teaching is and who chooses to be a teacher. Social Security is developed for a guy, as Clyde or Rodney one mentioned, who may go from job to job. But he's a job who he shows up, he punches the clock in, he does his work, and he punches out. That is not the nature of what teaching has been in Louisiana. It is absurd to ask a teacher to work 40 years before, and there's absolutely no reason for this reform. It is now time for us to stop letting reform be thought of as a useful word. It is now time for us to go back. We need to look at the reforms relative to COLAs. We need to look at the reforms because in many cases, they have gone too far and they have actually undermined the very basic purpose of that we have, and that is to provide a quality of life retirement for all. So I opposed it. I offered the motion to oppose it at TRSL. I would suggest that Rodney is absolutely on point. We must engage every person we know. And this goes along, there is a very good bill that we don't need to get involved in by Mr. Thompson, basically to call a halt to all of this reform. We have had reform after reform since Governor Foster's term, and in terms of the people we targeted, the low achieving minority male child, we are no better off than we were. Reform as it's been mandated by the legislature does not. Now, we have made fiscal reform in teachers' retirement. Quite frankly, as Catherine will tell you later, we are in good shape. All of our processes are working at a very high level, and the likelihood of our being able to meet our constitutional mandates, I see nothing on the horizon that says we need any more reform. What we need to do is to back off and fine-tune some of the reform that we've already done. And again, Rodney, you were there, you understand. I'm not going through all the details, but folks, there are many reasons why this is a very deadly bill that needs to be opposed. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Taylor, for that. We appreciate, of course, your expertise and your guidance all the time. We know we are well represented there with you and Dr. Bodan, so thank you for all you do. All right, now moving on, item 3D, the Executive Committee report, and I will present that. The Executive Committee has met more than usual due to our increased technological capabilities. We met on January 6th and 27th and April 7th and the 14th via Zoom to discuss LRTA business. We have already acted on some of the items covered in our meetings. In addition, we also did the following: the Executive Director's contract. The Executive Committee has successfully negotiated, good news, right? The Executive Director's contract for a 3-year period from July 31st, 2021 through July 31st, 2024. I think we all know the value of Mr. Watson, what he has brought to our organization, what he continues to do all the time. I can speak from experience, he's wearing me out. The staff would like to say the same, they can't do that, so I'm speaking for them. But there's no way we're letting him go. I know you all agree with that. Thanks, I hear some amen.
Amen.
Most of the items included in the contract had been previously granted to Mr. Watson during previous annual evaluations. We simply just included them to make it part of the record. Both parties were amenable to the final product, and I'm proud to say the Executive Committee unanimously approve the contract. The other item, in addition to what we've already discussed, is our hybrid meeting structure. We are thinking ahead and making plans for what appears to be the way we will have to conduct district and state meetings in the future. We will most likely have to do a combination of actual and virtual meetings for the boards, where some could attend in person and others could attend virtually. There are many factors to consider, and believe me, Mr. Watson and I have talked a lot about this on what if this, and if we do that, then we need this, and where could we do that? And so there are many factors to consider, and Mr. Watson will discuss this further during his report. So that concludes my report. Is there any questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to receive the executive committee report.
Maddie White, I so move.
I'm sorry, I was waiting for there it is. To receive the executive committee report and approve the executive director's contract. It is has been moved by Maddie White. Is there a second?
Fred Rivers, second.
Mr. Rivers, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Watson, I guess, would you care to say anything?
Well, just to say, 6 years ago, I sat in this very room and had my first interview as your executive director. And you were in here, and Lizette was a part of that. Nancy was a part of that. And I just want to say that this has been the most rewarding 6 years of my professional life. And I've worn every hat from teacher to superintendent. It's such a privilege to serve the retirees. The retirees are the period at the end of the very long education sentence that don't get the credit they deserve. So it's been a privilege for me. And I look forward to the next 3 years. And I thank you for your support of me as your executive director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam
White.
President,
Yes, I heard. Who wishes to address?
and this is Maddie
Oh,
White.
yes, Ms. White? Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mr. Watson, and certainly we don't want to lose him. He's done a marvelous job. He has.
Yes, thank you very much. We all agree. Thank you for saying that, Ms. White. And thank you, I mentioned you earlier, but thank you for being here in Mr. George's place today. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Dr. Taylor?
I'm going to take just a minute and personally thank Rodney for continuing to serve. Rodney and I began a very, very close professional relationship back in August of 1995, when we sat down and designed what we had hoped would be the 21st century standards and benchmarks, and led a year-long effort that culminated in a product that was nationally recognized as among the top 2 or so in the nation. Unfortunately, politics being what it was, it got sabotaged shortly thereafter by something called Common Core. But I've known Rodney, and Rodney has always been the consummate professional. We understand that we live in a very political world, but truth has to eventually win out. And we do that by constantly seeking it and promoting it everywhere. And Rodney, you know how I feel about you. You've never blinked, man, and just keep on for us. I appreciate you.
Thank you, James.
Right, Dr. Taylor.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Quigley?
may I say just a few words?
Yes, of
Rodney,
course.
you and I go back to Parkway High School in 1977.
That glass back there.
1977. And I have watched Rodney grow as a teacher, as a friend. I've watched him every step of his way up through the educational system. I am so proud that I was able to help him become our executive director. And I am very, very proud of what he has done for LRTA.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. We certainly agree. And thank you for bringing him to us 6 years ago. I have only known him for 6 years. It feels like 30, but some of you, it's been a very wonderful 6 years. I didn't know him before. I didn't know what to expect when he took the job, but I think we all know what he has meant to us. Thank you all for your comments. Anyone else?
Yes, I would like to say something.
Yes, Ms. Waters.
I was on that committee, and Nancy and I know the whole story. And I can only say that because of that whole story, that we know God sent him here for a reason. And we thank him for that. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you, Nancy, for pulling him out of the trenches.
Thank you, Ms. Watterson. All right. No one else? I'll go to number 4, the President's report. After many years of service as parliamentarian, Mr. Raymond Powell felt the need to resign. We were fortunate to still have his guidance considering he is in his 90s. And I'm sure you will join me in thanking him and Mrs. Powell for their service over the years. I have appointed Dr. Emma Shepherd from Caddo Parish as parliamentarian. I would like to note that I appointed Dr. Shepherd prior to her being elected as district president. I thank her for her willingness to serve, and I know she will do an excellent job in making sure we are always following proper procedure. Dr. Shepherd, did you want to say a few words?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, good morning to everyone. And I just appreciate, sometimes just being thought of. And anybody who knows me know that I'm going to put my best foot forward. And as I was thinking about the job, I've been president of several organizations, but basically all that you have to do is know how to pass a motion, get a second, and carry it through. So that was kind of the extent of what I knew. So I thought, as a teacher, you look for your weaknesses and then you work to overcome those weaknesses. So I've been studying up on trying to make sure that I will do the very best that I can. So again, thank you for considering me, and I'll work to make us proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. All right, item 4B, the nominating committee. Just a reminder, the executive committee waived the requirement to elect a new nominating committee considering our circumstances in the past. Committee members have agreed to serve again. They will meet virtually to accept nominations, and then we'll present a slate of candidates at the fall meeting. And I would also like to remind the even-numbered districts that you will have to elect nominating committees this fall and schedule your elections for the spring of 2022. Just a few other things I would like to say. LRTA has adapted well to our virtual hybrid world. The staff has been very cooperative in working out schedules to make sure the office is focusing on maintaining social distancing guidelines. Now that everyone has been vaccinated, including our 2 young ones, we can expect more normal operations. While trying to adapt to working from home in the office, they not only have fulfilled all job requirements, but continue to seek new methods of conducting our business while improving our technological capabilities. They have applied for and received grants from AARP for innovative means of communication amongst leadership as well as with our members. This allowed for the purchase of equipment and upgrades to our internet service in the office. Because of this, the executive committee and board, as well as our committees, were able to meet more often than usual. Without the costs associated with physical meetings, our committees have become much more effective. We have a new system called Voter Voice that will allow our members to contact legislators quicker and easier than ever before. And this will prove to be very beneficial to LRTA. Rodney is going to tell you more about things that have been going on with the staff and introduce you to Morgan Milling again. We were talking this morning, and she's been in a few meetings now, but even though she's been here 6 months, we feel like she's still new. But he will tell you more about some things the staff has been discussing later on in this in the meeting. But I seriously want to thank them for their work. I do not know where we would be today without our exceptional staff. So thank you very much. I, as well as most of our executive committee, have attended all 11 district meetings this spring. And I would like to thank our executive committee for always being cooperative, accessible, easily accessible for meetings, willingness to do this in a positive manner. Like the staff, we never hear, well, that's not my job, or I never used to do that before. Everyone is chipping in and doing everything we can to make sure we are representing our members. Each district president decided the method that worked best for them, whether it was going to be a Zoom meeting, a Zoom webinar, or a phone conference. And by doing this, we were able to stay connected and showed our members that we were still representing them. At this time, I would like to recognize our outgoing district presidents and thank them for their dedicated service to our members. District 3, Alva Martin. District 4, Peggy Amy. District 5, Selena Richard. And District 11, Jerry Page. I would also like to recognize our returning district presidents. District 1, Theo George. District 2, Geraldine Williams. District 6, Ivy Mouton. District 7, Walter Rogers. District 8, Genevieve Gordon. District 9, Freddie Rivers. And District 10, Dr. David Goliath. And I congratulate our new district presidents and thank them for their willingness to serve. I look forward to working with you all. District 3, Gail Foster. District 4, Javella Williamson. District 5, Patricia Saunier. And District 11, Dr. Emma Shepard. Excuse me. Alva Martin has completed her term as district president and representative on the executive committee. Javella Williamson was elected by her fellow district presidents to represent them. Thank you both for your willingness to serve. I believe you should have all received an email last night with the, or this morning, for the 2021 LRTA district fall meeting schedule. And you can see if you did not receive it, Jennifer has put it in the PowerPoint presentation. So I'm not going to read through it. I think you can all see for yourselves when your district meeting will take place. And as I said, Rodney will talk about that later on in the meeting, what your options will be and what we hope to have happen. And we'll take it from there. If you have any questions following this, of course, please feel free to contact me or anyone on the staff. That concludes my president's report. Thank you. Now, item number 5 will be the executive director's report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Janice. I have to be a little repetitive because the beginning of my report is to praise the LRTA staff. We have been working in a hybrid plan for over a year. And Jennifer, of course, every one of you appreciate Jennifer. She's kept us connected. And she's brought us to new and evolving ways to use technology to stay connected. We really appreciate her. I want to say that we're not the only ones that appreciate her. As you know, one of the ways we stayed connected is we produced several videos last year of different board members, members at large, executive committee members, myself. And Jennifer, this Friday, is going to receive an award from the Public Relations Association of Louisiana because she submitted some of those videos. and she's winning an award. And we were just so proud of her.
Thank you, thank you.
Not sure what category she submitted it in because it was of y'all. I think it's under the category of I made y'all look good. But we're very proud of her. This reward is deserved, and it just exemplifies how talented she is. I'd like to say that Jennifer and I probably drive the staff the most crazy because every day we are dealing with new ideas. Every day we come up with a different idea. Every week we're looking at doing research on how to improve and do things better. So thank you, Jennifer. Also at this time, I want to formally introduce Morgan Milling, our membership coordinator. Morgan has been with us since November. As you know, the three of us, Renee, Jennifer, and I, we took up the slack for Ann's job for several months until Morgan got here. And she came on board. She didn't miss a lick. She was a quick study. She comes from a nonprofit background, and we feel like she's family already. With this staff, as Renee said, every day Saturday and every day is Monday. We text early. I texted everybody this morning at 5:30 this morning, including some board members. And Jennifer and Renee are going to text me at 7:30 or 8 tonight. And nobody says this isn't my job. It's like what needs to get done. And so I got to tell you, when considering renewal of my contract, it was knowing that I had this fine staff. And of course, Renee is the backbone of LRTA. She is the history book. She's the one that makes sure we follow the rules and run this organization the way it's stated in our articles of incorporation and bylaws. But at this time, I'd like Morgan to say a few words because, you know, Ann was with us many years, but Ann, most of her job was processing applications, entering data, etc. Morgan's going to tell you a little bit about herself and what her plans are as the membership coordinator.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Morgan Milling. I'm the new membership services coordinator. I started in November of 2020, and I'm thrilled to be a part of LRTA. I want to start a little bit by giving a background on where I came from, what I've been doing for the past couple of years. So I've been working for nonprofits for the past 9 years, most recently a nonprofit association. It's there where I helped grow their membership greatly, and I really enjoy this type of work. Prior to that, I worked for the Louisiana Department of Revenue, and I was in auditing then, so I was the bad guy for a little while, but I have crossed over to the good side. So as membership service coordinator, I tend to take more of a leadership role here to help grow our membership. That includes working with our first Vice President, Ms. Lizette Watterson, as well as our districts and units. We will be having bi-monthly meetings to help achieve our membership goals. One of my goals is also to work with Renee to take over job requests from AMBA. I also plan to attend monthly meetings with AMBA representatives to help facilitate presentation of their products to our LRTA membership. So I am really excited to be here, and if y'all ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email, or you can just call the office to say hi. So thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. And I hope you can tell just from those few words, her positive energy, her work ethic. And again, I mean, we're a family here, a professional family. And thank you all for putting your faith in us as the LRTA staff. Just a couple of other quick things, because I know we need to stay brief as we get close to the end of the agenda. We did partner with NRTA AARP, who did provide us with a $3,000 grant last year. In fact, the reason we can have this meeting this morning is because we're all looking into a large screen TV with a webinar in our conference room that was never there before. And that grant helped us purchase that. Now, we had to move a lot of pictures of some old presidents to get that thing up there. But we didn't move them over here. They're just looking down from the side of the gallery. But that we're applying for another $5,000 grant. Jennifer and I are working on that grant now. And the purpose of that is to use technology as a means of outreach to our membership. And so even though we put that in the budget, we're confident we will get that. And that's just going to help us build our technology infrastructure and go even further. I am president of the Associated State Retired Teacher Executives. We are going to have our meeting in Chicago this year. We didn't meet last year. That position affords me a great opportunity to network with the same people across the country that do my job. There are friendships, there are professional associations that help us glean each other for ideas to bring back to our own states. And our theme this year is really looking at how do we deal with our products and make our organizations more successful? How do we continue to appeal and build membership when we're using hybrid models like we are today? So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll share that when I get back. And finally, I'll speak to this a little bit more. We still don't know what the fall is going to bring, right? And our board, our executive committee, you have to make decisions about the fall. But right now, if we had to make a decision, what would we say a meeting looks like? Well, right now, a meeting looks like you're either having a virtual meeting or maybe a hybrid like this. So we are currently doing research, reaching out to meeting locations, businesses, hotels, and finding out, have you beefed up your infrastructure? If we do a hybrid at the Marriott, are you going to have webcams that we can use to reach our members? How does that look? So we're already doing research. We are going to do a survey in May. We're going to do an email blast, and we're just going to ask a few questions. Right now, would you attend a meeting face-to-face? Right now, would you be interested in a hybrid meeting? Right now, would you stay and just use technology so that we can present that data to our executive committee and board to make decisions about the fall? But just to keep in mind, we're working on a plan for the fall. We're going to give you some options. We're always thinking ahead. And Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watson. I appreciate again everything you do for us. All right, item number 6, AMBA. We will have, AMBA is already presented this morning, a video presentation, but we did want them here with us today. We are very pleased with the relationship we have with our benefits partner, AMBA. Of course, I think everyone probably knows Franklin Hart. He's been around forever. And I know I first met Franklin. Of course, he's usually at all the state meetings, manning a booth, and we appreciate that. But I think I first met him when he came to my living room and sold me a dental policy. So I've known him for a while, and I have great respect for Franklin. And also Virginia Monserrat, who helped me as I was membership person 3 years ago. And Virginia helped me get a meeting started in St. Francisville, trying to get a chapter started there, a unit. And she was very helpful. And then the pandemic hit, and our plans have stalled, but I've already been contacted by Virginia saying as soon as we can, we are getting cranked up again. And I'm looking forward to that. In addition to providing benefits for our members, they're very helpful in our recruitment efforts. Mr. Watson and Mr. Guerrero have recently completed negotiations on our contract renewal, which was approved by our executive committee. And so at this point, I would like to offer Mr. Watson and Mr. Omar Guerrero, AMBA Vice President of Member Experience, to make some comments, please. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Janice. So LRTA's had a long-running contract with AMBA. And it started under Jerry Morgan many, many years ago. And when I came on board, I did inherit that contract. And since that time, AMBA has been Jerry sold the company. It's a much more corporate-run mentality. The company is. Their goal with us is to be a partner in building membership. As Janice said, they provide products to our members at a discount. So the way it works is if they do an appeal to a new retiree, and let's say a new retiree would like dental insurance, because most of us don't get dental insurance of retirees, then they have to join LRTA to get that discount. That's one way we work with them to do it. It's been well received. And we renewed the contract 3 years ago, and our contract is up for renewal in October. But Omar approached me early, and he said, let's do the contract now. We value our relationship with AMBA, and our relationship has grown with them. Janice can tell you every 2 years, AMBA does what they call Roundup. They call it Roundup because it's Texas. It's in Austin, Texas. but it's a great conference. I watched that conference go under Jerry from entertaining and almost like cheerleading for membership to a very professionally run organization where they bring in national speakers that have done research on retirement system, best practices for building membership. It is really a true opportunity for professional development and for states to network. I want to say how much I value our relationship with AMBA, and I'll go over the terms of the contract in just a moment, but I want to first introduce Omar and let him make some remarks and introduce Franklin as well. So Omar, would you like to say a few words?
I would. Rodney, Madam President, the Executive Board, thank you. I will echo the words about Rodney and specifically to you, Janice, that I've been a part of AMBA for 3 years and it has felt like 30, and that's a compliment. Rodney expects excellence from us as a partner for the sake of the organization and its members. You know, what started in 2006 is only getting better. With the support and guidance of Rodney, Renee, Jennifer, now Morgan, we continue to refine and evolve our approach to attract new retired educators of Louisiana. And the most important thing is retain current members. In fact, Rodney, I'll quote you earlier that regaining membership is important to us. It's important to us too, as your partner. So we look forward to supporting LRTA to uphold the mission of being the voice of the retired education community, representing its interests by monitoring, protecting, and improving the benefits needed to secure dignity, independence, and overall quality of life. And we look forward to it for many years. Franklin?
Yeah, good morning. You know, I was listening to the comments and I was thinking, you know, I've eaten with Miss Jerry Williams before. I've hung out with Miss Javella in Donaldsonville. I've been to Miss Hernandez's house, and now we're all on Zoom together. So I don't know exactly how to react to that, but it is not the same as it used to be. It is great to see y'all in the office. That is awesome. I can't wait till we get back to some normalcy in this. I would first like to say some of the panelists that are on, not on video, are our local district managers. Ms. Hernandez, you mentioned Virginia Mosseray. Virginia is our manager in charge of the greater Baton Rouge area towards Sinlaw. So she is on here this morning, kind of listening in. We also have Caitlin Tidwell, who is our local manager for Lafayette up kind of towards the north part of Louisiana, so Shreveport, Monroe. She was kind of hopping on and off in between some calls as well. Sam Paylett, many of you know Sam from down in New Orleans towards home of Thibodeau down that way. He is on the call as well this morning. And then also Boren Owen, who's our Baton Rouge towards the North Shore district manager. So they're listening in. So I'm glad y'all are saying good things about us, so they can feel good with that. But I do want to say very excited to continue our partnership with LRTA. I myself, I was listening to Dr. Taylor, and he was talking about how educators don't go into it to punch a clock and clock in, clock out. And I can tell you, I know that's the case. You view it as a career, you view it as a calling. You know, I've worked here at AMBA for almost 14 years now, and it does feel like 30. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I have worked here for the better part of a decade. And I view my opportunity to do what I do the same way. You know, it's a calling to help educators with benefits, and it's been a lot of fun over the years, whether it's meetings and traveling around and doing all the things that we do. You know, one thing I will share with you in the 13 years that I've been here, and obviously we've worked with LRTA for roughly that long too. The biggest impact that I have seen is the amount of policies that people have enrolled in over the years that, unfortunately, due to health concerns, we have had to actually help them file claim over the years on many of these plans. And 13 years ago, I don't know that I would have known that's exactly what it looks like, but you know, now we're there on the back end with a lot of things. And so I'm excited to continue to help and continue to serve, and just looking forward to the next 5 years. You know, Ronnie, if I would have known they let you work for another 3, I'd have sent champagne over or something like that, let you guys celebrate. I didn't know that, so I'll catch that on the next meeting. But just excited to continue this group, this agreement, and you know, keep working here with the great folks in the great state of Louisiana. So thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both for being here. Just a few highlights of the contract. I just want to assure our membership, and TRSL is on this relationship. We have a great relationship with TRSL because we are able to interface with their database, which is the lifeblood. Most states don't do that. With that comes privacy and security protections that have to be in place. Omar and I have had several conversations about that. Just to let everyone know, those procedural safeguards are in place. LRTA is always in control of the data. When we do a mail out, we prepare the mailing list and send it to a secure mailing house that respects state privacy laws. They've been very respectful of that, and want to assure that. Just a couple of highlights. These are just the nuts and bolts. They have paid us many years a $30,000 a year administrative fee to help prepare, do the sorts of mailings, etc. They very generously have increased that by another $10,000 for 5 years, and we're very appreciative of that. They've always been, the last 3 years we negotiated, 5 years ago, a $5,000 reimbursement for the president's reception in the fall. We've renegotiated that. We just amended the language, $5,000 toward food and beverages, because we know it may not be a president reception. It may be a luncheon or a dinner based on the hybrid model. Thank you for that. As you know, we have Voter Voice, which is a platform for advocacy to reach our legislators. That costs $5,000 a year, and Omar very generously put in the contract $5,000 a year toward a platform like this for the next 5 years. So we're just thrilled with the contract. Thank you both, and Steve and Nick, for the considerations in the new contract. And at this time, Madam President, I'd like to entertain a motion. To approve the current AMBA contract and the new AMBA contract for 5 years beginning October 25th, 2021 to the last business day of October 2026.
Madam Chairman, our Madam President, I'll make that motion.
Moved by Mr. Hamner. Is there a second?
Second by Quigley.
Second by Ms. Watterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. Motion carries. And thank you, Franklin. Because I'm not on my computer, I did not know Virginia and Ms. Tidwell was on. I got to meet Ms. Tidwell through the district meetings in her area. So thank you for mentioning that. I'm glad I said something nice about her. But there would be nothing else I could say about Virginia. Thank them both for being with us. Okay, so we are moving right along. I appreciate it. Everyone is doing a great job. I think we're doing well time-wise, and appreciate everyone keeping to task. Now, item 7, reports from other agencies. As I mentioned, TRSL will have a session later on this afternoon, but Dr. Jerry Bowden, our representative on the Board of Trustees, could not be here today, and Catherine graciously offered to present his report for him. So at this time, I'll turn it over to her. Ms. Whitney.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm going to update you. I spoke with you. It's a pleasure to be here. I spoke with you in the fall and went through the TRSL valuation and reported that the investment year was not exactly what we would like to see every year. But fortunately, I am with you today to talk to you about investment performance thus far this fiscal year. And we sent a packet into your packet. You had a handout that kind of hit some of the highlights. And Jennifer, if you can pull that up, it may be easier to see it. I could speak to it, but if you could share your screen and pull that up, that would be great. But just to give you an idea of where we are so far, and I know many of you have investments in other areas as well, so you've probably seen this in your personal accounts. But our assets have grown since fiscal year 20 by $4 billion. And that's as of March 31st of 2021. You know, that's a variety of factors play into that. In addition to the U.S. stock market, we have a well-diversified portfolio that includes alternative assets, which have always been proved to give us strong returns. So far, that percentage to reach that 24 billion so far this fiscal year is 22.3%. To give you an idea of context, where we were at that market low of March 31st of 2020, U.S. stocks have increased 34% as of June 30th of 2020 and 66.23% as of March 31st of 2020. U.S. stocks saw the all-time high on April 5th of 2021. But let's look at this chart to give you a picture of, Jennifer, if you'll scroll down, this will give you a picture of, in comparing the March to March figure. We saw some negatives from July 1st to March 31st. The market picked back up. Our fiscal year ends in June 30th, but then from July 1st through March 31st, you see that return I mentioned earlier, but the total market value from March to March has increased by $6 billion, which is hard to get your head around, but just amazing news on the investment side. Again, our fiscal year ends on June 30th, so we're very much hoping that this holds out, but certainly are expecting a gain. But before we go to the next page, because I want to talk about long term, when we see that type of market return, it's important for everyone to remember that we do smooth those returns. So what that means is we don't recognize. So we don't recognize the full however many billion it ends up being in a given year. We smooth it over 5 years. And what that helps us do is control the volatility that we may see in the markets. You'll remember what I reported to you last fall related in the valuation. Our market return last year was just below 1%. As a long-term investor, we anticipate that we will have certain years that are very good, certain years that may not be so good, certain years that will just meet the mark. But when you, for lack of a better word, average returns over a period of time, it helps you control the extremes up and downs that you would otherwise experience if you recognized it all in one year. So specifically as it relates to retirees, because our excess investment returns often result in monies being deposited in the experience account, keep in mind that it's going to be that actuarial return that we're going to look at to determine exactly how much excess we have. So just in terms of being a long-term investor, Jennifer, if you'll go to the next page, one of the things that we like to look at is, and we provide this to our board every month, we like to look at, okay, how did we perform over the long term? So how do we perform over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? So these various organizations will do rankings. So they will tell you how you did compared to other systems. So this particular one is one that compares systems that are over $1 billion. And you will see from the rankings, and it goes to looking at a 10-year return. And when we start at the 4-year mark, TRSL, when compared to those other systems, are either ranked first or second, which is a great point that we like to make as much as we can as to how successful this particular program, this particular asset allocation, which is all overseen by our board, it has performed for us. We always at least like to be, when you look at that graph and those red dots, we like it to be in that top quartile, and you'll see starting at 4 years and forward, we are at the very top. So that is really what I wanted to cover with you, to let you know things are going well. Our office, Rodney talked about their office returning to a little bit of normal. We are as well. We still have some employees who are remote working, but are gradually bringing them back in and are looking forward to. Our retirees have absolutely, and members have absolutely enjoyed, I think, and taken advantage, particularly those in North Louisiana, of the virtual options that we're offering. We are going to continue, obviously, offering those and encouraging people to do those options until we get out of this pandemic, but we'll also feel like we'll be able to welcome some people into the building again this summer, those that want that in-person meeting, but on a very safe, with all the protocols that we've put in place, perspective. So that's all I have. I know you're on a time schedule, but just wanted to hit those highlights from an investment. Look forward to continuing to work with you all. Thank you for letting me be here in place of Dr. Bodan today.
Thank you, Catherine. And back on the COLA discussion, we still have a long way to go before we get a regular COLA, but one of the things that we talked about is if we can get a hefty deposit into the experience account, maybe there could be something in between that we could approach legislators about. For instance, a 13th check or a smaller COLA. In other words, just trying to keep options open, because we know it's been since 2016. We're not going to discuss that today, but I'll let that be the segue into Catherine's presentation this afternoon. Encourage you to watch that.
Yep.
Thank you, Catherine. We appreciate, again, your stepping in for Dr. Bodan. And I know you coordinated with Dr. Taylor, who is our other retiree rep on the Board of Trustees, and he will now present a report on the economic impact of retirement benefits of the state of Louisiana. Dr. Taylor?
Hello, group. Glad to be here. Let me make a comment before I launch into my formal presentation. We really have now partnered even more tightly. We now have a formal statement, Catherine, where we will be encouraging what I call sustaining membership. And that means that our board, our retirees can get us, they sign once and we will take their dues out automatically. The board formally approved that at the last meeting. We've been doing it, but we've been doing it on somewhat less than a formal basis. Now we have it formal, and Milling and others. Let's look at how we can push that to get our membership. Jennifer, if you will throw the cover of my presentation up there so they can see, I'm going to move through this thing kind of like Germany went through East Europe. But I'd like to just get some things in place. What we remember always, and the front cover of this, is that we have basically three responsibilities in terms of our fiduciary duty. One, we have to manage this trust to generally benefit the state of Louisiana. We have to be responsible to our citizens. Second, we have to do it in such a way that it provides hope, realistic hope, for a good retirement and serves the active teaching force as a good investment for that 8% of their money that we require. And third is that we want to be able to provide our retirees as the motto of the LRTA, which is the advocacy organization for, the formal advocacy organization for LRTA, making retirement years great. And going back to our charter, one, that means we have to be advocates. And basically, as a lawyer, I always remember avocat, which is a French word, in Latin. We've got to be the lawyer for our membership. And that means we have to advocate. And second of all, the second duty is in all of our local units, we have to have our retired people socially organized in socially supportive groups so that there isn't the kind of isolation that my uncle found when he had Catherine's position from 1953 to 1965, isolated primarily females living without a network. So the two things, we must have the social network in every parish. And now in some of the big parishes, it needs to be organized by zip code. And we need to have it operating from the standpoint of advocacy. Now let's talk about creating buying power. We have 80,536 people who receive benefits. Now for Morgan's benefit, about 7,000 of those roughly are beneficiaries. They do not own the trust, but the other 73,000 all are targets that we should have as active members of the LRTA. And we need to continue to figure out a way to do that. And again, I want to thank Catherine and Rodney for taking the step forward to formalize the sustained membership option that we at TRSL are providing for that. Now, 2.2 billion. And I want to tell you why this is important to me. As some of you know, for the last several years, I've been fighting both lymphoma and carcinoma. And I just completed a 2-month series of radiations and got to know the young man who lives in rural St. Tammany Parish. And as we talked through those nearly 30 treatments, he began to talk about asking what I did and so forth and so on. And he opened my eyes. We must understand and figure out a way to get the word out that we are contributing $2.2 billion. He looked me in the face and said, "But Dr. Taylor, I thought all y'all did was figure out how much money your retirees needed and you sent a bill to the state every month." And he says, "Well, everybody believes that. So we must figure out a way to get this out. We are a $22.2 billion economic asset to the state of Louisiana. And 2 billion of that stays here. About 0.2 billion goes to some of our folk who are in other states. So let's go on down a little bit there and understand that our people are a little bit better off than the average Social Security recipient in Louisiana. We have gone to the point that the average gross benefit, this is before deductions and all the other stuff, for our teachers is $2,263. Now, why? Because they pay more. They pay 8%. Social Security only pays, I think, 6.2. I'm not good at precise numbers. But so we've got to understand that we are bringing that into the communities. How do we get this across? I don't know, but I know we have to do a better job. Next page, I wanted to point out one tiny thing to you. When you look, go to the bottom of the page, please, Jennifer. Look at the bar graph. TRSL benefits, the first one on the left, are right at $2 billion a year. Only the areas of accommodations and educational services contribute a larger amount to the state economy than TRSL does alone. Now, if we collected this with the other 3 state retirement systems, quite frankly, we probably would be contributing a large. So we are a huge economic contributor to the state. You will notice that we are above agriculture, we are above air and rail, we are above motion picture and sound recordings, and look how much money tax breaks we've given them. We're way above data processing and hosting, and everybody thinks about that. And of course, the other thing that hopefully will come back fully is performing arts, spectator sports, and so forth. That has been hit hard by the pandemic, but that will come back. But remember, your organization is a larger economic contributor to the economic prosperity of Louisiana than all of these other areas. Next page, Jennifer, I want to point out just one thing on that page. Where does it hit us best? Our Acadiana people are really winning this battle. Although the population is primarily in what we call the Florida parishes, remember, from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, that whole area up to the state is about 2/3 of our state's population. The rest of the state is only 1/3 of the population. But look where our people are in Acadiana. So we need to be using this to show, and we've got to find a way. Catherine and I have had a preliminary conversation on this. And by the way, Catherine, if you want to chime in at any time, please do so. We've got to find a way in all 64 of our parishes to get regular, pertinent information into those local newspapers. I know the Times-Picayune and the Advocate are probably not interested in what we have to say, but the local weeklies are. And some of the local radio stations, if we can figure out a way to get pertinent information. Now, Jennifer, you'll go to the next page. I want everybody to see this and understand. Here, as of December the 31st, I think my date is right on that, fiscal year 2020. Yeah, into each parish. The parish that got the least was Tensall. And of course, East Baton Rouge got much. But if you want to see the relatively wealth of these, all you've got to do is take these numbers and divide by the number. Cameron, for instance, I think has about the same number as Tensall, but those teachers there are coming out a third better. But this is information, executive members, district presidents, that we need to get into the hands of the local people. And each of our local units needs to be using this. Why do I say that? We have got to make sure in every senatorial district and every House district where we don't have a confirmed supporter, our retired teachers have got to stand up and run for office. Or they've got to pick someone who has loyalty to the economic, all 3 aspects of prosperity: economic prosperity, social prosperity, and cultural prosperity. Notice how high an economic impact, when our culture is in full bloom, how positive impact. If we had time, I would sit and talk with you about this chart, I find it most valuable. What I have done as just to keep me focused on my personal copy, I have calculated out the average pay for each of those 64 parishes. All right, the next thing I want to talk about that we have to constantly, I'm not going to say defend, because when it is a good investment, we always look to invest in Louisiana. And we have investments. If you will look at the chart at the bottom of the page, we have investments in areas that our best consultants say. What Catherine showed you earlier of how we stay in that first and second place, we can't let politics or folk wisdom dictate our investments. We have the best scientists. We talk. We talk to the best minds in investment, and Catherine holds our feet to the fire. We have to continue to do continuing investment education as well as continuing management education so that we are kept on the cutting edge of what the best science is right now. But notice that industrials, we've got 147 million in healthcare. The questions that I get are, why don't we invest more in energy? That is politically popular, simply because the whole nature of energy, not because of politics, the whole nature of what will be done with hydrocarbons is changing. They are slowly but surely internationally being phased out as fuel and becoming part of construction. Jennifer, let's go to the next page. These are 3 samples that I'm not going to go over, but understand we strategically pick what we want. And we do it for all 3 reasons. Is it good for Louisiana's economy? Is it, as Catherine said to you earlier, long-term? Does it have long-term probability? Is the teleology there? Does it say this is going to be good in the long run? And last, of course, does it give us a good return on our money? Let's flip one more time. And this is a chart at the bottom of the page I want all of you to notice. I'm rushing. Pull it up just a little bit more, Jennifer. The average benefit. Thank you, dear. We have, in the period of time that we've been looking at, where we've only had 8 COLAs, Social Security has had 18. So that is a huge problem. And Catherine and Rodney are on top of that. We must find a way. And I call it stop the reform train and fine tune the reform we've already done. You know, my first role in life was a music teacher. And the first thing you do before you play a concert is make sure that the instruments are tuned. Well, reform has got some out of tune instruments, and we have got to get them back. Notice, bottom of that chart, that in 2011, which I don't remember, I think I was state president of LRTA then. I can't remember what years I was there. Yes. It was 1989 was the monthly gross benefit. We now have that up to 2263. But we are, we supported a bill. We are still focused on our least able, those in poverty, trying to deal with that before we take on the business of equity for the others. Now, the other thing I want you to understand, and I will tell you when I went on that board, this was the first thing that absolutely struck me, is how little it cost each member for us to give you top benefits. 96.7%. Scan down and scan over to the next page, Jennifer, please. Come on, down to the right-hand corner, darling. All right. What we see here is that our administrative cost, as compared to what, and as I do, and some of the rest of you do, I have a TIAA, I have an IRA, and others. And what you see there and what it costs to run those is between 1% and 2%. The last time I looked at the very specific number, and Catherine, I don't have it in the chart here, we operate at like 0.0068. I don't remember the specific number. But I want you to understand that we grow the assets by getting highest return on our investments and managing, I call it sometimes paperclip counting. But we do that so that that everything our active teachers are contributing, that 8%, goes to build our corpus and undergird the money we have to pay you your full percent. Now, so we are operating the TRSL in terms of individual cost at $33 per member less than the industry average. That is way low. The industry average is something around $120, $115, $120 a member. We're doing it at much, much less cost than that. So I want to say that, and to say to you, think of our three goals: to be an economic asset to all of the people of Louisiana, to be a retirement system that attracts and stabilizes and supports the people who choose to accept the calling. And I spent 50 years. I walked in the classroom in August of '68, and I walked out in August of 2018. So I did everything from being a middle school, high school music teacher to the dean of a college of education. And I loved every minute of it. Eventually the health wears out and you have to stop. But I don't want people teaching our children who have the time clock mentality. Think of what we all did. We arrived at school early. We taught our classes. We sponsored groups after school, whether it was the band, the choir, the athletics, the boost, the yearbook, all of us. We never did. And then usually turned around and went to a PTA meeting or a school board meeting. And so we didn't put in 8 to 5. So what I'm saying to you is I want you, my report here was to give you a tool so that you can show everybody that we meet our first goal. We are a strong economic contributor to the economic, social, and cultural prosperity of Louisiana. We are doing our job. And thanks to a wonderful staff, we do it at a very, very high level. And as a board member, I'm very proud to give this report to you and say, this is what we're doing with your money. We never go into a meeting that we don't remind ourselves. It's kind of like my other world when I was younger and I was a church musician. When you walk into the church, you say, Soli Deo Gloria, which means let the glory be to God, not me. You can't be a church musician worth the name if you're looking for glory. Sorry, you'll go for a rock band. But what we do is we remember that we're there as that you have elected us to keep your trust to meet all three of its important goals. And with that, Madam Chairman, I think I've covered that. I certainly will be happy to answer or respond, and I'm sure Catherine will. I do appreciate her standing in. She is a delight to work with. And with that, my report, I think, is completed.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. We always appreciate your expertise and take on things. It's very beneficial to us. Any comments or? Okay, great. Thank you. Next report from AARP and Martha Hayes, our rep.
Good morning to all.
Good morning.
AARP is very glad to be a part of the LRTA and working with you all. And AARP has several initiatives that we're working on. You have a handout in your package. I'm not going through all of them. You know, we're still working to have family caregiving. There are 11,500 people in Louisiana who want to be in their homes, who need waivers, cannot get them. Nursing home care costs about $52,000 a year for the state. At home care is $24,000. That is quite a difference and quite a savings if we have more home care. We're pushing for more home care. Currently, 79% of all Medicare long-term care goes to nursing homes, where only 21% goes to home health care. We were at 30% about 5 years ago. We're down to 21%. Home health care now receives less than they did several years ago. The other thing the AARP is pushing is to try to let nurse practitioners have a bigger say in the medical care of Louisiana. The rural areas are lacking doctors, and nurse practitioners can do a lot to fill in those areas. And during COVID, there was a bill to let them have more power, but this has got to be voted on again. Right now, they have to work directly under a doctor. And when I say directly under a doctor, the nurse practitioners could be in Shreveport, the doctor could be in New Orleans. But the nurse practitioner pays that doctor about $5,000 a month in order to work with that doctor who isn't even around close by. If the doctor dies and closes their practice, then that nurse immediately loses her job. Has to find somewhere else. So we're asking that the legislature pass and give them more privileges than they have now. We're still working on reducing drug prices, and we know that affects all of us. We're working at financial security for everyone. And other than that, I think you can read the two handouts that are in your package. But we thank you for all the support that you do for us. My other individual thing is we are also RAFP is also setting up a call list for calling people to remind them to go get their COVID vaccine. Pushing for people to please go get their shot. On another list, we do have an election here on Saturday for Bessie, and it's in members of North Louisiana. So please go out and vote if you're in Louisiana. Thank you, and God bless.
Yes. Thank you, Martha. We appreciate that. We definitely want to second that on the voting this Saturday is very important, and on everyone being vaccinated, hopefully. We know AARP has done a lot to facilitate that.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, Dr. Taylor?
I think everybody knows this, but when I ran to the drugstore yesterday to pick up some antibiotics to prepare for some more surgery I have to have, I looked out and there is a huge military presence behind the drugstore and the Bon Carré shopping center, and there is with people lined up to give folks shots. So there's plenty of facility there, and I did not, when I went at 5 o'clock, I did not see a lot of people. Encourage anybody who's having problems getting the shot, find one of these massive centers and get them, because while there may be a little bit of fear, there should be a lot more fear of not having them. So I say that to whoever is listening. I can say there's plenty of service available right here on the Bon Carré shopping center on Florida Boulevard, and I'm sure that's not true just in Baton Rouge. I suspect it's true in all the other major
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
cities in our state.
Total agreement there. You're breaking up a little bit, sorry, but thank you for that. Certainly do want to encourage, and I hope that unit presidents and district presidents will share that with their members. Okay. Mr. Watson would like to say a few things
just very quickly as we approach the end of our meeting. I want to say how much I appreciate Martha sitting on our board. For many years, we didn't have a rep on our board sheet. Looking at 6 degrees of separation, I worked with Martha in Bossier Parish. We're glad she's with AARP. Because of her, things that we don't have on the radar, because we're looking at state retirement, AARP is looking at health and the quality of health care, and she keeps us in the loop, and the national organization does as well. So I just wanted to say how much we appreciate you personally, Martha, and how much we appreciate the relationship with both the state and national AARP.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we're excited to have our OGB rep with us today too, Deborah Copeland. Ms. Copeland, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, it's nice to be with you today. I do not have a prepared presentation to make. I can tell you that OGB has worked very hard with Access Health. I'm sure all of you have heard about that issue. Our new CEO, I can't say enough wonderful things about Colonel David Couvion. He worked long and hard when he heard the concern of our members about the Access Health contract, and that has been negotiated and settled, and they will continue on for the rest of their term with a possible one-year extension following that. We are looking at next year's rates, but nothing has been determined yet on that. There will be a slight increase coming, I'm pretty sure. But very encouraged by Colonel Couvion. He is looking at some very innovative ways of getting more benefits without having to increase our payments. So that's a great thing that's going on right now.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing that information. We'll look forward to seeing you again at our meetings.
And thank you, Deborah. I know it's been a struggle for you to attend. We really appreciate that you're with us today. And also we have Frank Jobert. He's observing today, but he represents our SEA and he sits on the OGB board and he keeps us informed as well. So we appreciate all the support. I would say probably half of our members depend on OGB for healthcare. So keeping them up to date is very important to us. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you. All right, item number 8 on the agenda, 2021 fall meeting. Mr. Watson's already talked about that a little bit, but he will share some more information.
I'll be very brief. Just to let you know, we are planning, we are making calls to vendors right now. We're talking to hotels. Right now, all the meeting venues are complying with CDC guidelines. If we had had this meeting face-to-face today, we would have had to have used a bigger room with social distancing for our board. There are costs associated with that. We're going to have to look at hotels and meeting venues that have the technology so that we can do hybrid meetings. Again, we will do that survey. We'll probably call the executive committee back in for still another meeting to give them the information results, but we are planning ahead. We are planning for a fall hybrid meeting, and district presidents will be passing that guidance on to you because you're going to be dealing with the same scenario with your districts. So with that being said, we will bring the committee back in once we have more information. And finally, to say, we are requesting the meeting be held in Baton Rouge because all the staff is here and we need multiple access to any meeting venue to set things up in order to be, on time and available to the different venues.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. And I hope you noticed the survey in your packet, just a few questions that we hope you'll share, make sure your members respond to, because this is what we're going to use to base our decisions on what type of meeting we're going to have in the fall. So thank you for sharing all this information with them so that we can make our plans accordingly. Other business. Is there any other business to come before the body? I would like to remind everyone, please, again, tell your members that all of this will be available for viewing tomorrow. We know we are limited in our board meeting to only 100, but now they can go online and see any of these presentations starting tomorrow. Thanks to Jennifer. And if you have any questions or any comments, please, again, feel free to call me, text me, email me, whatever, and or the staff, because we're happy to answer all questions. At this time, not hearing any other business. I'm sorry, Mr. Watson.
Very quickly, this is a state meeting. It's not just a board meeting. We had an AMBA presentation this afternoon. This afternoon, Catherine's doing a presentation on COLAs. And after that, Clyde and I are doing a legislative update for our members. So if you want to hear about some of the bills and stuff we talked about earlier, we invite you to watch.
Right. We had the AMA this morning at 1 o'clock, I believe, is the TRSL, and 2:30 will be the legislative, the LRTA report. So again, thank you all for attending. I think we kept pretty much to task. I appreciate everyone's input. And so at this time, I would like to thank everyone again for your cooperation, particularly our people who are just observing and not being able to speak. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Madam President, I'll move that we adjourn.
Mr. Hamner moves to adjourn. Is there a second?
Elizabeth Watson second.
Ms. Watterson seconds. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Motion carries. Thanks again. Bye.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye. Thank you.
And be blessed.